Welcome to Nairas and Kobos by Leadway. For you to be watching this, it's safe to assume that you're someone that is passionate about their personal finance. You want to improve on your financial education and take your finances to the next level. In this program, we are going to be sharing with you practical tips that will help you achieve just that. Improve your financial education, do better with your money, and gain practical knowledge that will help you achieve your financial goals. So grab a drink, grab a snack. It's going to be an interesting one. First, let's look at what is personal finance. Personal finance is the management of your individual financial life or your family finances. This is where we look at important things like budgeting, saving, planning for short-term and long-term goals, investing, insurance, retirement planning, and all the other important aspects of a successful and healthy financial life. I particularly like the word personal in personal finance because for each and every one of us, the money conversation is a very personal one. Let's look at why it is important for us to take our personal finance seriously. The first thing is, when you're intentional about your personal finance, it gives you a sense of security and control. A lot of people go through financial anxiety because they seem to not be able to gain control over their financial life. I think we can all agree that our finances is an important and huge part of all the other areas of our lives. So, gaining good control over your personal finance would go a long way to ease anxiety. Another reason why it is important is it helps you to plan ahead for your life. I know we all like to YOLO once in a while, you only live once, but the future is ahead, and either we plan for it or not, it's going to come. So when you're intentional about your personal finance, you're able to plan for your financial future and be intentional about where you want to be, say, in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When you look into your future, what do you see? Intentionality and doing right by your personal finance is how you're able to bring your vision and your dreams to life. Let's talk about needs and wants. It's important for you to understand and be able to differentiate between your needs and your wants if you want to get your personal finance right. So let's look at it. Needs are things that are important to your survival, things that you cannot do or function without as a human being. What are some of those things that you can think of? Number one, I would say your house. You need a home over your head. You need shelter. You need food. You need transportation, data, things that are important to your functioning, to your work, to your life in general. These are things that you cannot compromise on. Now, let's look at wants. Wants are things that you spend on because they make you feel good. So a want, for example, is going on a dinner date with your friends. A dinner date with your friends is not exactly important to your survival, so it's not a need, it's a want. Going on a vacation, it's a want. It's something that you do to reward yourself, relax, and feel good. So understanding these differences would help you structure your finances the right way. As a rule of thumb, when you're planning your finances, it is important to always give priority to your needs first, then your wants. Another advantage of understanding and being able to differentiate between your needs and your wants is that it will help you control your spending and prioritize the things that are of utmost importance to you. Now, let's move to goals. How to set SMART goals. For you to be able to set goals that are achievable, there are important guiding principles you must bear in mind. An important framework that will help you achieve that is SMART. Let's look at it. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For you to set goals that are important to you and achieve them, using this framework is very important. So let's look at a goal that meets this criteria. Typically, when people want to set financial goals, they write something like, I want to become a millionaire by 25. To me, that is not specific enough. That is not time-bound, relevant, or measurable enough. So I would say it's not a SMART goal. Let's look at a SMART goal. I want to save 1.2 million naira in the next 12 months. Now, that has a specific amount that you're going to work towards. It also has a timeline. 12 months is a timeline you've given yourself. It is measurable and relevant to you. And by the time you look at your finances, you see that you can save an average of 100,000 naira per month. With that, you know that it is achievable for you. By saving 100,000 naira per month, for the next 12 months, you'll be able to achieve your goal of 1.2 million naira in savings. That is a very smart goal to set. So I want you to do a quick practice. Maybe you have goals that you've written in the past that doesn't feel like they follow this framework or are smart. So use this framework and this example as a guiding principle to rewrite those goals and make them work for you. Budgeting. Budgeting is one aspect of personal finance that a lot of people shy away from because they feel like it can be rigid sometimes. But the way we are going to look at it today, if you have that mindset, we are going to be able to completely change that. Because budgeting is about making your money work for you. Because at the end of the day, you are in control. You're the one that will tell your money where to go and how to go. So let's look at budgeting in detail. To set a feasible and realistic budget, you have to look at some important components. Top of the list is your income. For every financial life, the income aspect is not negotiable. You need income for you to be able to plan anything. So looking at your income is very important. Next on the list, you want to look at your expenses. This is what I call inflow, outflow. So your income is your inflow and your expenses is your outflow. This is where you look at how you're spending your money. Now, it is important for you to go through the process of listing out your expenses to see exactly where your money is going. I know nowadays it's quite easy to lose track of our finances. With a few taps on our phones, we've made transfers. With a swipe of a card, we've made payments, without really paying attention to how much we're spending per time. So going through the process of writing out the things that are important to you, especially in the category of your needs and your wants, and itemizing them to see where your money is going, is important to be able to draft a successful and usable budget. When you draft your budget, it is important that you always have something left. Now, first off, when you're looking at your financial life and it feels like your inflow and your outflow are equal to each other, this is the part where you want to cut back on your expenses so that you have something left that you can put towards things like savings and investments. If your outflow is greater than your inflow, meaning your expenses is greater than your income, that means you're probably currently financing your life through debts and some money coming in other than your typical income. Most times, this is not sustainable. And again, it is advisable for you to restructure your spending and your lifestyle to live below your means. Meaning, when you do your income minus your expenses, you have something left. At this point, I must mention, it is what you conserve that you're able to build with. If you earn it to spend it all, there's nothing left for you to plan with. Now, let's look at some interesting budgeting techniques. And I'm sure by the time we're done with this, you will find a method that works for you and suits your kind of personality. The first technique I would like to share with you is the zero-based method. How does this work? So basically it means every naira that leaves your account must have a predetermined purpose. So when you're drafting your budget, say you earn 100,000 naira every month, it means by the time you're done with your budget, that 100,000 naira has a purpose. It doesn't mean you have to spend the whole 100,000. It means you assign a purpose to whatever is left. For example, it could be 50,000 naira to food, 20,000 naira to transportation, 10,000 naira to self-care, and 20,000 naira towards savings. So by structuring it this way, At the beginning of the month, there is purpose for every naira that you earn. The advantage of this is it helps you stay disciplined. However, it can feel a bit rigid because life doesn't always go as planned. Another budgeting technique I would like to share with you is the 50-30-20 method. Remember we talked about needs and wants earlier. That is going to come into play when applying this technique. So the rule says 50% of your money goes towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your savings and investments. By using this rule, you see that you are able to prioritize your needs, then your wants, and still conserve some things for your savings. This rule doesn't always work for everybody because some people that are high income earners might not necessarily have to spend up to 50% of their income on needs or spend up to 30% of their income on wants. So it is important for you to know what works for you. Look at your financial life and see if this rule applies. I must also mention that it is okay to tailor the rule to what works for you. For example, you might be able to do 40% of your income to your needs, 30% to your wants, and 30% to savings and investments. It's the principle that matters. You can tailor it in a way that works for you and your goals. Third on our list is the envelope method. This method is more cash-based. So how does it work? Basically, say you have 100,000 naira to spend in a month. It means you get 100,000 naira out of your bank account in form of cash. You get envelopes and you label your envelopes according to the bracket of your expenses. So for example, you can have an envelope for food, an envelope for data, envelope for transportation, envelope for night out with friends, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So you then take the cash and you distribute it into these envelopes according to how you want to structure your money. The amazing thing about this technique is it helps you to keep good track of your money. So for example, when the envelope for data is empty, you immediately know that what you've budgeted for data for that month has been expended. On the other hand, this can feel a bit tedious, seeing that we are now in the digital age. So what happens when you want to do a quick transfer or pay with your card? How do you manage that? That is the downside of this technique. But a lot of people still find it very useful and it works for them. Last but not the least that I'm going to share with you, and my personal favorite, is the pay yourself first method. I love this method because it saves me from having to go through my budget every month over and over again, or it saves me from feeling anxious about my spending day in, day out. So it's my personal favorite. How does it work? Basically, you pay yourself first, like the name says. It means at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month when your income comes in, you take a percentage that you want to conserve, that is put towards savings and investments, and you send it to your savings account, locked away. Whatever you now have left is what you use to finance your life for the month. So for example, say 100,000 naira comes in at the beginning of the month for you, and you want to use this method. So you know that what you want to save for the month is probably 10% or 20% of that. Let's go with 20%. Now you send 20,000 naira to your savings account that is locked away. Now you know what you have to spend for the month is 80,000 naira. So you're able to structure your life and your expenses around 80,000 naira. Going through these techniques, different techniques, you can see that there are different ways you can approach budgeting and make it work for you. Remember, nothing is cast on stone. Take the principle that is attractive or you find interesting and make it work for you. I hope you start having fun with budgeting now. We have come to the end of this module, and I believe we've emphasized that it is important for you to understand the fundamental aspect of your personal finance. understanding how budgeting works, how to set smart goals that will work for you. See you in the next.